Good afternoon, and welcome to the Rutherford County Library System's second ever live stream computer class. My name is Trey Gwynn, and I'm the Technology and Outreach Coordinator for the Rutherford County Library System. And today we will be taking a look at some basic spreadsheet programs and some of their basic functionality so that you can have a basic understanding of how they work. But first, let's begin by talking about what a word processor is. Word processors are kind of like digital typewriters. However, they allow you to do far more than a typewriter. You can easily fix errors, you can change fonts, you can copy and paste, and you can do way more than that. Today we'll be learning about some of the basics like typing, saving, and printing, and a few other useful tools. Now, Microsoft Word is the most popular word processing software, but we're actually going to cover two more along with Word, because the two that we're going to cover are both free, and I think it's important that we talk about free products because not everybody has access to the paid Microsoft Word. So the three products that we're going to talk about today are Google Docs. Here, let me get my laser pointer. We're going to talk about Google Docs. We're going to talk about Microsoft Word, and we're going to talk about OpenOffice Writer. Now, Google Docs is free. That's maybe the most important aspect of Google Docs. It is web-based, which means that you can pull it up anywhere on any browser. And it is owned by Google. Now, that is not necessarily a good or bad thing, but whenever it comes up, I do like to point out that Google, when it comes to Google, you are the product. They sell very few physical things. Most of what they make their money doing is selling advertisements, and that's by getting your anonymized data. Now, I don't mean to say that they're going to go through the documents that you make, but, everything that you do on a Google platform gives them more information about you, and you have to decide whether that's an issue for yourself or not. For me personally, I love Google Docs, so I don't have an issue with it, but it is something that everyone has to decide for themselves. Microsoft Word is the other program, one of the other two programs we're going to take a look at. It is the most fully featured of the three products. Microsoft has had 30 years to refine Microsoft Word, and therefore it is the most robust of the three. It is also the most expensive. You can either buy it for a relatively expensive one-time fee or a relatively expensive monthly fee. But with both Docs and Word, if you pay the fee for Word, they both have cloud-based storage options. Google Docs is fully cloud-based, and that's what makes it great. Word can be, you just have to pay the monthly fee. And I should say the Microsoft Word is the industry standard. Even when you're saving something in Google Docs, like when you've written something and you save it in Google Docs, its default is to save it as a Word document because they recognize that most people are going to be opening whatever you write with Docs with Microsoft Word. That's just how dominant it is. The third program that I want to point out is probably the least well known, but it is OpenOffice Writer. It is also free. It probably has the least features of the three, but it is owned and produced by a nonprofit. And so for them, it is far more important that they give people the opportunity to use something like Writer than to make money. And that's, I think that's very noble, and it means that it is worth us talking about because, again, free, and you don't have the privacy issues that you might be concerned about with Google. However, as far as I can tell, and I've done a little bit of research into this, not a ton, it doesn't have the cloud-based storage options that Docs and Word do. So that means that your files will not be available everywhere. Now, when you're getting started with any of these three programs, we're going to start today with just a blank document. Now for Word or Docs, when you first open them, you'll see a page kind of like this one that I have reproduced on the slide. And that is a blank document and then some templates. Now we'll talk about the templates later because they are super useful. But for now, we're just going to focus on that blank document. So when you open those programs, Docs or Words, you will be able to choose that blank document, and that's where we're going to start. So to begin with, let's take a look at the anatomy of a blank Word document. This is Microsoft Word, but all three of the programs are going to look basically like this, and we're going to take a look at each of them individually here in a moment. But this is basically what it's going to look like. You're going to have the body of the document here, and then you're going to have menus and items up here that can then be used to change and tweak the document. So, for example, let's take a look at Word real quickly. So here's Word. This is an actual Word document that I have open. You'll notice that this is the space where I can type, so I just typed my name into it. This is what you will manipulate with whenever you're changing the settings on your documents. Similarly, let's see where it is. Let's close Word and we're going to open up. Here is OpenOffice. Notice that it has less features up here, up in the menus, but it looks basically the same. You have the body of the document here, and again, just type in my name real quick, and that's where you'll do your typing. And then last but not least is Google Docs. Google Docs, let me pull up my thing. Okay, Google, and hide this. There we go. Google Docs, you'll see, looks very similar to both of those programs with there we go. With options up here that lets you change what you're typing into the body, and then I'll type my name again just like I typed with everything else, just to show that they all work basically the same. And that's kind of the point of this class, is that if you learn some of these things on one of the three programs, they will likely work on the other, or you will know enough to be able to reproduce it on the other. So let's take a look at, and I've got to pull my thing back up. Here we go. Let's take a look at maybe the most important feature of all three of these, and that is the undo and redo buttons. Now, if you have been around computers for a while, you probably know that Control-Z is the undo keyboard command. So if you have typed something and or accidentally deleted something, you can hit Control-Z and it will bring it back. On all three of these programs, you can find up in the top left-hand corner little back and forth buttons that let you undo and redo what you've just done. But remember, as you're working with these, they work like a timeline. So if you have written a big long paragraph and there is a typo in that paragraph, it is not that is not the right use case for Control-Z. You will want to go back up and put your cursor where the typo is and fix it that way. If instead you have a situation where you were changing the settings on a paragraph, you have the whole thing selected, and in fact, I'll just even show you, like I'll just even illustrate what I'm about to say. There's Word. Say I have a big long paragraph, Trey space, Control Z. Well, it's not a big long paragraph, but say I was changing all these and I wanted to change them to italics, and we'll talk more about this in just a second, but then I accidentally delete them. Instead of having to retype them all, I can just hit Control Z. So that is the use case for Control Z, not a single mistake that you can just go back and fix. But Control Z is maybe the most useful thing that you can possibly learn to become a computer power user. I almost never use redo, but it is there in case you need it. As I've already illustrated with all three of these programs, make typing easy. You just click into the body of the paragraph, into the body of the document, and then start typing. And so, say you're writing a letter or a resume, you just click there and start typing away. And then once you've typed something, you can adjust it with some of the tools that we're going to learn here in just a moment. One of those tools is the ability to change your font and text size. Now, what's great about word processors as opposed to old school typewriters or something like that is that it is very easy to change the way that your document looks so that you can adjust things drastically, making the font huge. So say you needed to make a yard sale sign or a lost dog sign so that people can see it from a distance is very easy to do. So for example, we'll go to Open Office. My name is still there. Say I was making I don't know why I need a poster that says my name in giant type, but let's say I wanted that. I would go up to this drop down menu right here and scroll down and put in, and the largest font size that it has built in is 96, but the thing is you can actually just type in whatever size you want. So if I type in 200, it can get even bigger. If I type in, apparently the highest is 999.9, but you can see that it can get very large, and that's how you do that. Now in one of my favorite tricks for Word, so if we close Open Office and open up Word, one of my favorite tricks for Word is, if you'll notice right here next to that little drop down menu with the sizes, you have these two little buttons, and these are only in Word. They're not in Open Office. They're not in Google Docs. This little A with an up arrow and A with a down arrow, those let you tweak the size one size at a time. And so, say you are working on something and you need it to just be tiny bit smaller, instead of having to go over here and find, go from 24 to 22, or heaven forbid you need 23 and have to go up there and type it in, you can do that, or you can just It's pretty useful if you need to just make a slight tweak. You can also change font colors. Again, this is something that works pretty much the same in all three programs. I will show it to you in here it is in Google Docs, because we haven't really messed with Google Docs yet. All of your options are up here in the menu bar. You go to the A with a line under it. The line is black because the current font is black, but if you click on it, it gives you a whole range of colors, and you can even come up with custom colors. It works the same way with all three of the other programs. I'm going to make my name big so that you can see it. I'm going to make it bold, and then once you have the text that you want to change selected, you just hit the color and change it. If you don't like it, just hit the back button or hit Control Z. And so it's super easy to make those changes. Gotta scoop my thing back up. There we go. Okay. Similarly, if you need to change the style of the what you've written, and you can do that in multiple different ways. You can change the font. You can change the. You can make things bold. You can make it italicized. You can make it underlined. You can even make it strike through. I don't have that on my list of things here in my presentation, but it's something you can totally do. So let's go back to Word for a moment. Here's Word. I'm going to get rid of most of these trays. Just have one tray. I'm going to make it bigger so that you all can see it. I'm going to do it this way. Okay, so right now, trays italicized. I have it selected. If I go over here to this leaning I, that is the italicized. I'm unitalicizing it now. I'm going to bold it by clicking the B, the bold, the B for bold. I can underline it with the U. I could even, there's a button that's strike ABC with a line through it that makes it strike through. So you can do all kinds of stuff like that. Then on top of that, say you wanted some sort of fancy font, right? Most computers come built in with a bunch of different fonts of a bunch of different styles, but you can also go out and download new fonts, like this one that I downloaded called Chiller, which is supposed to be like a scary font that I used for a fake news class. You can go out and get that kind of font, and you can change it. You can change it back. You can tweak it to look however you want it to look. Let's get rid of Word. There we go. Now, in my opinion, one of the most useful things that you can do with any of these programs, and maybe it's just because I'm old enough to remember when programs didn't do this kind of thing, and now they do it so easily that it makes it really nice. You can make bullet point and numbered lists. So, for example, actually, let's go to here is Open Office, right? So let's say I'm gonna make this smaller to 40. Yeah, that'll do. Say I was making a list of say I was making a grocery list, right? Apparently I've got breakfast on my mind, which is weird because it's like 2:15 in the afternoon. If I made the list and then select everything, I can go up to this button, and there's a button like this on Docs. There's a button like this on Microsoft Word. They're all basically in the same place. If I select and then hit that, it will make a bullet pointed list for me. And then if I add things, it will continue the bullet points for me. That's nice. It's nice, but it's not like world changing. In my opinion, the thing that is world changing is this. If you click on the button that's next to the bullet pointed list, that's the numbering, and that will switch the bullet points into numbers. Now, that might not sound, again, world changing, but the best thing about it is if you decide that you want your list to be in a different order, all you have to do is hit enter. The numbers will change for you. So if I wanted to say, okay, well, eggs, bacon, instead of eggs, bacon, sausage, it needs to be eggs, bacon, water, sausage. I can go up to bacon, hit enter. It will add a new number 3. It will move sausage and bread down one each, and it keeps my numbering system in place. Again, that probably doesn't seem exactly world changing, but it didn't. Word processors didn't always have that functionality, and so it's really nice to have. You can also change the text alignment. Now, this may be something that you're familiar with. I don't know, but you can change the place that a word is on the piece of paper. On your digital piece of paper, right? So here's my Word document with my name in it. Right now, because the default is left aligned, so it's all the way over as far as it can go to the left, right? If I wanted it to be, I could change it to so that it's middle aligned, and that's just by clicking these little lines up here. Each of these programs will have something like that, and they'll all be kind of in the same place. Again, they want, even though they're different companies, they want you to be able to hop from one to the other as easily as possible. So right now it's middle aligned. You can also make it right aligned so that it's all the way over to the right. You can also justify it, which makes it so that it's it takes what you've written and spreads it out as much as it can between the margins, like as evenly as it can between the margins. You can also adjust the line spacing of what you're working on. So, for example, here is let me move that down again. There we go. Okay. So, I'm actually gonna, just so it's better. Okay. So here's my name, right? Say for some reason, maybe I'm writing a paper for a professor that wants what I'm working on to be double spaced, or for whatever reason, I need to increase the space between each of the lines. You go to this button right here, and again, similar button on all three programs. Click on it, and it gives me some options, or I can actually just do a custom spacing. But the most standard is double spaced, and that's a big gap, but that's just because I made the font so big. One of the biggest departures from the traditional quote-unquote typewriter that you get when it comes to one of these word processors is that you can insert pictures into what you're working on the fly. You don't have to tape a picture to something that you've typed out and then print it, and you can just put it right into what you're working on. For example, let me pull up what have I not used as an example in a little while. Let's go with OpenOffice, right? So I'm going to get rid of my grocery list, and I'm going to go over here to insert, and then I'm going to scroll down to picture, and then if I hit picture from file, it lets me open up a picture from my computer and put it into my document. And there it is. And I can even adjust it so that it's smaller. I can make changes to it. What's cool is if we jump over to close OpenOffice and go over to Word, if we go to insert up over here and click on pictures, you can do the exact same thing, but I wanted to show you right next to pictures is online pictures, which is a place where you can actually go and search for pictures. So say you don't have the picture of whatever it is you wanted to put in, but you want a picture. So say I put in flowers and I hit enter, it would give me some flowers that I could insert into my document. See, there we go. And I'll even go one further than that. Let me close Microsoft Word. We're going to go back to Google Docs, and we're going to do the exact same thing. But if you go up to insert and click on image, you can actually, again, search the web for images to put into your document. So again, I'll type in flowers. You'll probably notice that I get different results because they're different search engines. Microsoft Office uses Bing, and of course Google Docs uses Google. So see, now there's a beautiful rose in my document. One of the most technical things that we're going to talk about in this class is changing the margins. Margins are the spaces around the border of your text. You can make them smaller or larger, and they have built-in options. You can also customize your options. So I think the easiest way to show this is in Word. Since I've already got that picture, I'm going to go to Layout. The very first option is margins, and then you'll notice that I have a bunch of different options, from very, very wide margins to very, very narrow margins. Let's see if I can show. Okay, so see, this is as far as I can take my picture of flowers with narrow margins. Let's change it to wide margins and see, look how far it moves over. And that's because all of a sudden the margins of this document are right here. And so we'll go back to normal, and then that puts it kind of back in the middle. You can mess with the margins depending on what you need out of your document. So if you need a very narrow document with very strong margins, you can go and use wide. If you need as much of the page as possible, you can use narrow. Just remember that part of the reason for margins is to accommodate printers. Not all printers can print all the way up to the edge of the page. So just be aware of what your printer can do. Because that will be important. Similarly, let's talk about, before we go back to my document or my presentation, let's talk about page orientation. All three of these programs, again, can change. You can change the way the page is oriented. If you go to Let's do it in, since my example is in Word, let's do it in Word. Again, we're going to go to the Layout tab, and right next to Margins is Orientation. You have two choices. You have Portrait or Landscape. You should be very familiar with the idea of portrait versus landscape, because that's how our phones work. When they're vertical, they are portrait. When they are sideways, they are landscape. Depending on how you have your settings, it may switch between them. But if you go up to orientation, you can just switch them on the fly. And so that just depends on how you want your page set up. This last item is something that it only really applies to Word and Google Docs. Both of those two programs are made with built-in templates that let you open documents that are already pre-made to perform a task that you might need. So, for example, I'm gonna bring Word back up here. I'm going to go up here and I'm going to hit New. And you'll notice that it brings up all these different options. Each of these options, except for blank document and tour right here, are different templates that you can click on. The one that I help people with the most is resumes. There are a bunch of different resume and cover letter templates that you can use that are pre-made resume and cover letter templates that already look good and look nice and professional, and then all you have to do is go in and put in your information. So like this is my favorite one because it's nice and plain. If I hit create, it will open up, and now I have a professional looking resume, and all I have to do is go in and put in my name and my job experience and stuff like that. And then if I want to tweak it, I can, based on my own on what I want out of. Similarly, Google Docs can do a very similar thing. If I go to File and I go to New, it gives me the option to do it from a template. And if you click on that, it will bring up this page, and this page has all kinds of different topics, including like class notes and reports and essays. And then if you scroll down, you've got letters and resumes, and it works the exact same way. If I were to click on this, it will open up a resume, and here is a fully designed and nice looking resume. All I have to do is go in and tweak what it says so that it's about me instead of just being, filler stuff. We already covered that. I kind of got ahead of myself. In 2 of the 3 programs, saving your document works pretty much the exact same way. So in Word, all you do is go over to File, click Save, tell it where you want to save it. I'll put it in my documents, and then hit Save. Similarly, in OpenOffice, you go over to File, you hit Save. You tell it where you want it to save. You hit Save. It is saved on your computer. One of the great things about Google Docs is that it just saves automatically. It's cloud-based anyways, so as you're working on things, every few seconds it will save whatever you've just done, so that you don't have to go around saving it constantly. Which means that if the worst happens, it means that likely you will be able to recover at least some of your stuff. Printing works the same with all 3 programs. In fact, with all 3, you go to the same place that we just went with. To save, you click on File, and you hit Print, and it will bring up the print menu, and then you just hit the print button. My computer's not going to do it because I'm not connected to a printer right now, but it works the same way in all 3 programs. With Google Docs, you might have to download whatever you've done. Sometimes it gets a little weird and doesn't want to print if you don't download it. It never works the same way twice for some reason, but either way, it should print if you hit Print, and then it'll ask you to download and print, or it will just print. And that's the end of my class. I know it was shorter than we intended. I'm used to working with people in person and having them ask questions. So I hope it has been helpful to you. We hope to see you soon at the library. We've missed seeing our patrons in person. I hope that you're staying healthy. Have a good afternoon.